Hey, what's up, Kickstarter backers? Kickstarter possible backers. My name is Tom Compton. I am the creative director and co-game designer for Who Among Us. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the gameplay today because I was reading over the Kickstarter thing and I didn't want it to seem too vague. One, as you already probably are completely aware of, Who Among Us is a tabletop deck building game. So you're kind of taking some of the elements from, Warhammer and Dungeons and Dragons, World of Darkness, things like that, and you're integrating them into the sort of gameplay that you get with Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, that kind of stuff. The reason that we do it that way, and the reason that the game is set up that way, is so that I enjoy tabletop gaming. It's not really like my thing. Like, I'm not as adamant about it as my co-creator Catherine is, and we'll have a video with her up shortly. My love with tabletop is the freedom. I love that whole thing. Like, you take, like, because I'm a big video game player, and to take a game that I just recently played, Fable 3. It's a game that kind of lets you go about doing everything the way you want to do it. Not really to the extent of, like, we'll do something really open world, like Fallout. Fallout doesn't give you any real restrictions on what you have to do. There's nothing really linear about Fallout. Like Fallout 3, you've got like the first hour maybe that's structured, but it's more so to give you like this guide. I like that. I like that there isn't an obligation. You're not obligated to do the main quest if you don't want to. Like, you can play through the game for hundreds of hours and never actually touch the main quest. That's the thing I like about tabletop gaming, because it's pretty much universally like that. The reason that we wanted to do the cards was because there is an aspect of tabletop gaming that I don't like, which is that when you give people too much freedom, they abuse it. It's just how life is. It's just, the way that everything works. So me and Catherine were trying to come up with sort of a way to combat that. And that's when the cards come in. The cards will always work against you and work for you, if that makes sense. You're not going to be able to just say, well, I'm now, a level 20 this, or I'm not, this. You can't just do that. You can't just arbitrarily give yourself, things. You have to work for things, just like in games like Fallout and Skyrim and things like that. The cards are broken down. Right now we have, I believe, 6 groups. We have safety places, originally called hiding places. This was like a last 24 hours kind of change for the name, because we don't want them to just be safe, like hiding. Like, there's elements of them that people will know that you were there, but you are safe for a certain amount of time. All safety places have their own HPs. That way, if you're in the middle of a battle, things like that, they can sort of be broken down and sort of knocked down a peg a bit, I guess. So you have that. You have weapons, pretty standard thing. You have there's going to be animals. We're not really sure if those are going to be part of another group, but you can have like companion animals and things like that. And animals will have their own sets of skills and their own HPs and whatever else. We're also going to be having status effects, some of which are good, some of which are bad. Now, these aren't the same as handicaps. Handicaps are things that you're going to pretty much start the game with. Sometimes they're bad, sometimes they're good. A good example of that is you might start the handicap off with a broken leg. The game off with the handicap of having a broken leg. And that's not necessarily going to do you any good. But a way you could use that to your advantage that no card is going to restrict you from is, okay, well, I've got this handicap and my leg's broken and there's blood and all of a sudden we're being chased. Maybe you're being chased by a bear. Maybe you're out in like the middle of the wilderness. You're being chased by a bear. And you kind of take the blood from your leg and you lead it to one of the other players. And then you kind of dip. Well, the point for that would be that bear or whatever is coming after you is going to immediately go towards that other player. The effectiveness, of course, which will be controlled by a dice roll as opposed to, stats or anything like that. Like, it's going to still require certain dice rolls, things like that. Another really important aspect of handicaps and status effects is that they work against one another. Like, status effects can be cured, handicaps cannot. But there are ways to utilize your handicap. Status effects are either good or bad. There's one that we're kind of working on right at the moment called Mouthful of Scorpions. And the purpose of this is it's a repetitive poisoning effect. And it's so you're poisoned, you've got this virus. The only way to really get rid of it, because you can cure the virus, but there's still scorpions in your mouth. There's going to be an item that specifically gets rid of those. And that kind of brings me to the next card type, which is blueprints. Blueprints allow you to build whatever you need to build. Everything from traps, because originally we were talking about having trap cards. I don't think we're going to do that, because I think we're splitting hairs now. So you're going to have blueprint cards, and these blueprints are going to require you to forage for certain items, find certain items that will allow you to then come together and make this trap, this medicine. The effectiveness will be controlled by a dice roll. Like, it will always allow you to make that trap, always allow you to make that medicine. For a lot of melee weapons, it'll always allow you to make that melee weapon. But that doesn't mean that it's going to be worth anything. You make an axe, but you did a horrible job making the handle, and you swing it one time and the blade pops off. The cards are just there to keep everything as fair as humanly possible. As much as this is inspired by World of Darkness and all the Dungeons and Dragons, the very well known tabletop gaming, we're kind of not trying to allow it to have the kind of freedom to allow people to exploit it. Another thing that we had kind of talked about, I wanted to touch base on really quick, was the antagonist. The antagonist is sort of replacing the storyteller and sort of not. More or less, you're in a situation, whatever the scenario may be, and that's for you as a group to kind of come together and sort of discern and figure out. Whoever put you there is in your group, or whoever's in your group might know that person and might be helping that person. The antagonist is the one person in your party who is doing everything in their power to make everybody else fail. They could be behind it, they could know the person behind it, they could have personal interest in it. That's for them to kind of determine. And the reason we wanted to do that was because originally the point of having an antagonist was, you believe it or not, actually, this whole thing was more inspired by poker than anything else. I thought it would be really cool to have a tabletop experience that would play kind of like poker, and not necessarily quick, but poker is definitely a game of deception. So if you have this one person, everybody can be out for their best interest. Everyone probably will end up being out for their best interest, and there's nothing wrong with that. But this one person is just the most not even using the words correctly anymore. The most, they're the bad guy. There's no other way to put it. They're the one who's really pushing everything. Now, if you're not the antagonist, your job is to sort of pick your allies wisely. You want to make sure that you're watching what people are doing during quests. You want to make sure that you're watching how people are responding to certain things during quests. Not even just quests, but just like general exploration. Because there's no real descriptions for these areas that you're going to end up in, like you can decide, because we're going to give you scenarios, or you can come up with your own scenarios. It doesn't matter. All of the item and effect cards and all of the cards in general will apply to anything. you're going to have to kind of just be smart about it. You know, people are going to drop subtle hints. There's tells, just like in poker, that will kind of give away who might be them. And also, people are naturally going to become sort of scared of being thought of as them. You know, you don't want people to think you're the antagonist when you're not, because those people are going to start kind of rallying against you. Now, as the antagonist, that's your goal. You want them to start going against each other. You want them to start making mistakes and doing stupid things. And you know, say I'm sitting here and I'm playing with, you know, it's me, Tom, and then you've got Johnny, Mary, and Colin. Maybe Colin's the antagonist. But the whole game, Mary is so paranoid because she knows that I have something that she needs, or I have a skill that really would benefit her because she doesn't have it, or maybe Johnny needs it. That's what's going to mess people up. Mary really needs to get on my good side, but if I don't trust Mary, Mary's going to go out of her way to make me trust her. But so would the antagonist. The antagonist wants to be on my good side because he wants me to let my guard down. That's where the game separates itself from traditional tabletop gaming, from traditional deck building, collectible card kind of games. Really, we want to make this as free as possible. But my concern is kind of that people are going to abuse it. I mean, you know, walking into a game and saying, okay, well, we all just woke up, but I'm the only one of us with a weapon, so I can just leave. Well, no, you can't. Like, that's, you can just leave. You could lead, you know, wild animals back, you know, like, and I'm sure that doesn't happen as much as maybe, like, you'd be led to believe, but I want people to enjoy it and have freedom, and I want the rules to only exist enough that they keep people from griefing one another and trolling one another and making the game less enjoyable for people. I want the rules to be so lacking in any sort of real form, but I want them to be there to keep people from getting really out of control. So anyway, that's our developer video for today. The next developer video, you will get to meet Catherine, the other designer behind this, and we really hope we can get this 5,000. We're doing pretty good so far for the first couple days. So thank you very much. My name's Tom Compton, and my Kickstarter project is Who Among Us.